Holiday memories implant deep. You probably still remember your favorite holiday present from your childhood, or hold on to a favorite ornament or sweater for decades at a time. And some of our favorite TV shows have wisely clued into that, creating memorable holiday episodes that have imprinted on viewers in a big way, in which audiences still return to year after year, even long after the show has left the air. So for our 2022 holiday special, the Great Pop Culture Debate wants to determine what is the best holiday-themed episode of a TV series. I got a lot of problems with you people, and you're all gonna hear about it. I'm your host, Eric Rezsnyak, and please welcome the panel for my Festivus airing of the grievances. She has conjured the holiday armadillo to teach us all about the joys of Hanukkah. It's Amy Pilott.
Shalom.
Shalom, and I look forward to the uplifting segment about the Christmas skull and how people die. He loves his turkey more than this podcast. It's Curtis Creekmore.
I'm a Dutch baby.
Well, listen, the camera can take this year off because I've added 10 pounds to myself. And, he's plunging to the earth right in front of my eyes, hitting the ground like bags of wet cement. Please welcome back our resident turkey, Michael Schwarz.
It's better than Hans Gruber hitting that concrete in the end too, Eric.
That's right, because Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Absolutely. So how does this work? This is a mini-sode, so there was no public poll. Our panelists nominated up to 15 of their favorite holiday episodes of TV series. Not movies, not specials, but holiday episodes of ongoing TV series. Any of the major end-of-the-year holidays were up for consideration. We compared notes, decided on a top 16 for the bracket, and now we argue about it and insult each other, all for your amusement. Want to play along at home? Go to greatpopculturedebate.com and find the polls and brackets tab. There you'll find the listener bracket for this and every episode. Make a copy for yourself, fill it out, and see if your picks match up with ours. So before we get into the top 16, I want to ask our panelists, what were some of the episodes that you were bummed out did not make it? I'm going to start with Amy. Were there any in particular for you?
Well, I would just say that, and I think we should mention this up front, that we really honed in on one episode from each show.
Yes. Yep.
And so I would say almost, I could have had an entire bracket here of Friends holiday episodes because while the Hanukkah Armadillo is my number one, no one can compare that moment when Brad Pitt walked into Thanksgiving. So I think that would be my other Friends holiday episode that I'm missing on this.
Yeah, and so for people to understand why we did that, I just wanted to have the kind of greatest range of shows on here. But I will agree, Friends has a lot of really memorable ones, Office and 30 Rock in particular. There is a 30 Rock episode on here. It's actually not even my favorite of the Christmas episodes from 30 Rock, but it is one that I think most of us voted for. But I thought that the Christmas special episode of 30 Rock and the Christmas Attack Zone episode are beloved in my house, and I watch them all every year. So great point. Curtis, what about you?
For me, it's the shows from my youth. So I had asked for Rugrats, the Hanukkah episode, which is where I learned everything that I know about Hanukkah. And that's probably true. And Hey Arnold's Christmas, which was a really touching episode where he learns more about the people that live in the home that he stays in. And Mr. Wong, I think is his name, the story of how they lost their daughter and she eventually found them later. It's really, really touching. I would have liked to see that here, but everything that we've got here, well, you'll see.
Well, you'll see. Michael, any for you?
Oh, when I was thinking about this, I kind of put two down on my list. One is a Friends episode that I think trumps the Hanukkah Armadillo. Is the one where Ross gets high, Rachel's trifle, and the Ross. One of my favorite interchanges is the Ross and Monica going back and forth about telling secrets. Monica broke the porch, not the hurricane.
Yeah,
one for me. I find that amusing, but. The one that that I think should have been on here when I thought about it, went back was, and this just speaks to how pure and good my soul is as a human being. Wow, you all went for that. I'm surprised.
So humble.
I know, exactly. A simple Brady Bunch episode. The voice of Christmas, where Carol. It's like their first Christmas as a combined Brady family and Carol loses her voice. And, Cindy asks the department store Santa for mommy to get her voice back and everything like that. I'm like, deep down in my soul, touches me, like brings a tear.
She was supposed to sing in the choir at church. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's very wholesome. I have to say, I don't know if I've ever actually seen that episode, and I've watched a lot of Brady Bunch, so I must have missed that one. But that's a great pick. Thank you, Michael. And I think we should just get this out of the way. There's absolutely recency bias in this top 16. I think the oldest one is from the 70s, but the vast majority are from the 90s to 2000. So if you're listening to this and you're waiting for like the Happy Days holiday episode to be discussed, I have some terrible news for you. Santa's not real. No, Santa is real. So for me, one thing, I nominated a bunch of these and none of them made it, but Doctor Who has had some really legendary Christmas specials over the years. And I'll just quickly name 3 of them. 2005's The Christmas Invasion, which introduced David Tennant's 10th Doctor to the show and probably saved it, the reboot, after the foundering with the original 9th Doctor.
Christopher Eccleston.
Exactly. 2013's The Time of the Doctor, which was the final appearance of Matt Smith's 11th Doctor. And then 2017's Twice Upon a Time, which was Peter Capaldi's 12th Doctor partnering with David Bradley's performance as the first Doctor, and which is actually the last holiday special that the show has had up until now, which is kind of a bummer. But we already mentioned that there's only one episode per show. I did want to give, I would be remiss, frankly, if I did not mention the RuPaul's Drag Race Holla Slay Spectacular, which gave us the Christmas miracle of Michelle Visage and RuPaul lip syncing against each other, the return of Kylie Sonique Love, and Jasmine Masters refusing to learn the words to a performance, wrapping her head in a giant gift bag, and then just flat out refusing to show up for the second part of the shoot because she was so enraged with Shangela. That's all true. That's all true. And that's what Christmas means to me. So thank you. If you have not watched it, it is universally reviled by the fandom. I love it. I think it's so stupid, and
it ranks up right up there with the Star Wars Christmas special.
Yes, exactly. If only B. Arthur had made an appearance on that one too. So, with that out of the way, let's get on to these debates. First up, the panel was split between a Benihana Christmas from The Office and Christmas in Downton Abbey from, well, Downton Abbey. Michael, keep your eyes on the road as you try to drive home votes for Downton. I will form a validity committee to crack nuts for The Office, and I'm going to have Michael go first.
Well, that validity committee is only a person of one, and it was only Jim, so he's denied your access to that committee. Okay, so first of all, let's just start with the fact that who wouldn't want to spend Christmas with Maggie Smith as the Dowager, so like the idea of just spending the Christmas here, but the whole idea of these are come very 2 different strains for me. And I will also just like completely admit to everybody that's listening, I am not a fan of The Office. So I did went back and watched both parts of A Benihana Christmas at The Office just to give it another chance. And I was bored. I swear. I mean, the whole fighting between the 2 holiday planning committees, it was just, I didn't like it at all. I thought it was just boring and, and a tad mean-spirited for a Christmas show in the end. But Downton Abbey, you get Christmas, you get New Year's, you get the servants' ball, you get everything that goes in with that. You get 3 holidays wrapped into one for you in that episode. Maggie Smith, this is when Matthew is still alive, and him and Mary fall in love at the end of the episode for it. And it was just and you have the one downer of the show, which is the whole Bates trial that goes on during most of it and leaves us as a cliffhanger for the end of the season. But it just Christmas with the Crowleys. I mean, it's just fantastic. And like Lord Grantham and just being out at Downton Abbey, I think is just a wonderful, more positive kind of experience than what I got from The Office. This
is the part where I make an admission that I confused this episode. I thought this was the episode where Matthew died at the end. Am I confusing it? Is that not a Christmas episode?
No.
Shit. Okay.
The end of this episode is Matthew and Mary on the snow-covered porch of Downton admitting their love for each other. That leads us into season 3 where they actually get married. Okay. Matthew doesn't die until End of season 3 or season 4, I forget.
Spoilers.
Yes, for sure.
Right, people, if you're listening to this, you should know better.
In my head, I thought that this was the episode where like it's beautiful and lovely, and then at the end, like Matthew just dies out of nowhere, and people are like, "What just happened?" So that's on me. That being said, I'm still voting for The Office.
No accounting for taste.
Well, no, and I mean that's where we're here. I will say that you are not the only person on this panel who made a similar comment about watching this episode and finding it mean-spirited, and they did not care for it. Curtis, are you also in that camp?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Amy, are you also in that camp?
I'm not a big Office fan, but my allegiance in Dower Dis women stands to Bridgerton. So for that reason, I will vote for The Office.
Okay. So let me make this argument for The Office. Number one, I genuinely believe, and you can tell me that I am a crazy idiot, but I think
idiot.
Yeah. I think The Office is actually primarily to blame for the renewed focus on Christmas episodes for modern sitcoms, because the Christmas episode of The Office became like a thing, and they made the collections surrounding them. I'm not saying that there weren't holiday episodes before that, but like they became event television in a way that like 30 Rock's Christmas episodes were event television. Friends also had that too, but I feel like The Office really perfected it in a way where they were tentpoles for that series. And I think there are a great many iconic Office holiday episodes. In fact, my favorite Office holiday episode moment is not in this one. It's in, I think, the first one where Angela is outside in the alley just furiously screaming and throwing ornaments onto the ground. Like that gets me every time. But Benihana Christmas is a pretty solid episode. I actually think it's quite funny. It's from season 3, I think, of The Office.
Yes.
Season 3. You've got multiple plot lines. Michael has sabotaged his relationship by Nancy by being the overeager, unintentional creep that he is.
Carol.
And he decides to seek solace in the form of a guy's trip to Benihana, which they refer to as Asian Hooters. The show refers to it as such. I am not. The boys behave as reprehensibly at a chain novelty restaurant as one possibly could. And it ends up with Michael inviting 2 of the waitresses back to the Office Christmas party. But the Christmas party is really where the episode shines, because you have Angela's iron grip on the party planning committee at its iciest as she rebuffs new hire Karen and her thoughts on the Nutcracker Christmas concept. Karen and Pam unite to form the committee to plan parties and throw a more festive margarita karaoke shindig. And then the Office Party Cold War climaxes with competing flyers, a committee validity committee, and ultimately Angela barking out Little Drummer Boy as Dwight looks on adoring. I think it's a great episode, but I understand in a 2020s sensibility, it's quite mean-spirited in parts and a little intentionally offensive. So, Amy, are you sticking with The Office or are you going with Downton?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick with the intentionally offensive. Yep.
Okay. I'm guessing, Curtis, you're not swaying your vote here.
I'm not. Do you want me to give any kind of like? I feel like I know where this is going, so I'll hold on to what I was going to say.
And Michael, you're steadfast with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I will say that it doesn't need to be 2020 for that episode to be viewed as mean-spirited in any way, shape, or form.
Sure.
Like, it was literally, Pam and Karen being the mean girls to Angela, who I would probably deserves part of it, but
Sure.
It's really a very mean girls kind of thing. It doesn't need to be 2020 for that.
You're completely correct. But
I know.
At the time, America was like fully on board with that behavior. Let's just be really honest about it.
Office is still on board with that behavior.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Does your office still have the Finer Things Club?
I'm sure it does.
I'm sure it does. Yes. Okay. So we're deadlocked. And the way deadlocks work in a minisode that does not have seeds is that it's rotating tiebreakers. So generally, I'm the one to go first, but this is a Christmas episode. And so it's the season of giving.
No, you go first, Eric, please.
What I would take is take a minute and randomize the list and let somebody let the pop culture gods decide who goes first.
I feel as though Curtis has a plan. Is that what I'm sensing here?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I have prepared myself for this specific, I knew this was going to happen. And I don't like change. Therefore, I was like, okay, this is going to be a tie.
I see where you're going with that, Curtis.
Eric gets the first tiebreaker. He can waste it on The Office in the first round, and we can all move on and have a happy Christmas.
I personally am of the opinion that in pop culture, the Office Christmas specials have way more weight than the Downton Abbey Christmas special.
I agree.
Putting that out there.
I'm also just going to say, because I'm Michael, I get screwed out of this. We got to go through 4 tiebreakers before I get a say.
I know. So
I think we'll get there, Michael.
I think we will. So I'm fine if, does someone want to, I don't want to waste podcast here. I'm not going to randomize it, although that's a good idea, Michael. I want Michael to be the first tiebreaker. We'll go in reverse alphabetical order this time. Michael, you're the first tiebreaker. What are you going to go with?
How much does this fuck you up, Curtis?
Oh, not at all.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm going to stick with Downton.
Okay.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it.
Advancing Downton Abbey. If you're listening and you feel real sore about it, we'll be going over everybody's social media accounts in round 2. Next, the panel is evenly split again between Bob's Burgers Turkey in a Can episode and Friends' The One with the Holiday Armadillo. Amy, tell us all about Santa's Tex-Mex friend, the Holiday Armadillo. Curtis, explain why we shouldn't flush this can. I'll have Amy go first.
I mean, let's just say that at this particular moment in time, we need to side with the Jews. So I'm not going to pull an Amy Pilott and walk away from the podcast. I'm just going to say that if we, anti-Semitism here would be felt strongly if we don't stick with the armadillo. So this episode...
I already love the argument, Amy, but please go on.
There's so much about this episode. I think that the fact that an armadillo has made it into pop culture as a holiday icon takes this one far. Like, the fact that is... Many people will know what you're talking about when you talk about the holiday armadillo. And as growing up a little Jewish girl, this like rang true to me, right? Like, this was this moment where I was like, well, yeah, I don't have a Santa. I know Santa. Santa goes to my friends' houses, but I get an armadillo. And that was really cool. I got something. And then Phoebe has a skull. She has her mother's skull, and that was their candy jar because people die at Christmas. And that was so bizarre, but also really nice because it gave everybody a little piece of holiday spirit, no matter how they celebrate. And so, again, I'll just go back to saying that we need a little Hanukkah representation here, and the Hanukkah Armadillo did that for so many people in a world of Christmas episodes where we finally got a Hanukkah icon in pop culture.
And we don't want to forget about Superman flying the Jews out of Egypt.
Yes, that is important. I mean, in the armadillo, walking the desert with the Superman. I mean, it was just perfection. It was ridiculous.
Thank you. And I'm going to hold on my thoughts right now, but instead I'm going to pass it to Curtis to talk to us about Bob's Burgers and turkeys that are in cans.
Unfortunately for Amy, I'm from the South, and therefore
actual armadillos.
Well, maybe in Texas, not in Kentucky. We don't have armadillos in Kentucky. No, I was speaking to the whole anti-Semitism thing. I'm kidding. I love Bob's Burgers. It's everything that I love in a TV show. It's witty, it's charming, it's irreverent. The characters are lovable screw-ups, and even in times that they make mistakes, you want to see them succeed, unlike The Office. Mm-hmm. Turkey in a Can is just one of many, many amazing holiday episodes that Bob's Burgers has had. We should have talked about it earlier when you were making the list of all of those different shows that had amazing episodes for the holidays. Some of the others that I think deserve a shout out are Christmas in the Car, where the family is stalked by that dangerous candy cane driving trucker and Linda loses her Dutch baby, which is what my intro line was from. Dawn of the Peck, where they're on the wharf and it's overrun with killer turkeys. And we also get to see Bob do a Donna Summer number. And then the Bleakening with Todrick Hall in drag in the Underground Disco Holiday Dance Club. all of those were amazing. Turkey in a Can, though, is my favorite of all of them because we get to spend time with Linda's sister, Gail, who is voiced by the incomparable Megan Mullally, and her cats, which Bob is extremely allergic to. Tina is adamant that she should be sitting at the adults' table this Thanksgiving, which leads her to hilarious attempts at Tina's talking points and walking in heels and pantyhose that don't fit, which is a really cute sight gag. And then the main story, which is Bob's father of the brine 3-day turkey that he's so excited about that keeps ending up in the toilet. And this sends the family on the whole whodunit wild turkey chase to find the criminal. The entire episode is so funny and it's really endearing. The ending is sincerely heartwarming. I don't have one, so I can't say that word. Where we find out that the culprit is, gasp, Bob. Again, spoilers. The allergy medication that he was taking caused issues with sleeping, which manifested with his anxiety around Tina getting older, and it resulted in a reenactment of his experience potty training Tina as the turkey. It's just so cute. What I love most about the episode is the connection across all of the different problems that are presented. I think a lot of animated comedies are really clumsy with their storylines, and they lean so heavily into the comedy aspect of things that they lose sight of the story. But Bob's, and especially this episode, are a shining example of bringing out the best of every character, hiding the strings under the comedy just well enough that when you pull them at the end to wrap everything up, you create magic.
Lovely. You both did a great job defending these. Michael, where are you coming down?
Shalom. My name is Michael Schwarz, and while I am not a Jew, I've played one on TV. No, I'm just kidding. But most people assume I'm Jewish. But no, I'm actually with Curtis on this one. With the God, I can't believe. God, this is going to be a really weird episode for me. I swear to God. I love you, Curtis, but we're usually not on the same side of stuff. I know. But no, I'm with Bob Burgers on this one because I think that for me that's not the quintessential. I love the holiday, the Hanukkah armadillo and everything like that. But to me, I have a different Friends episode that I mentioned early on that I think is a quintessential the Thanksgiving episode for me. But I just think Bob's Burgers is so much funnier here. You know, and I hadn't seen this episode for a while. So when I went back to it and I started watching it, it took me a while to actually figure out what the title name meant in the end, because I was expecting them to run out of turkeys and get turkey in a can. But then there's the whole interchange with Bob and the guy that works the meat counter at the grocery store. You know, he breaks up a relationship, for God's sakes, and says he might, at the end, he's mumbling, maybe I'll see you later. Maybe, I don't know, kind of thing. But I think that it's a funnier episode. I think that it's just a more well-written episode in the end, too.
Wow. Well, Amy, I'm with you in the armadillo. Let me just say that. So I'll admit, like, I enjoy Bob's Burgers. I think it's a funny show. I have not gotten into it the same level so many of my friends have. They love it. And I'm just like, I think it's cute. It's just, it doesn't grab me. So that's why I voted for Armadillo here. Amy, it's us versus the world, it seems.
This is rough. I mean, but I just take it back to, like, we're talking about a pop culture debate here. And when you think about pop culture, I don't know many people that are going to reference turkey in a can, but I know plenty of people that are going to talk about the armadillo.
It's a good argument. It's a very good argument. So, Curtis, it's back to you. We're going alphabetically backwards. You're breaking the tie here. Where are you going?
I thought you were next.
Oh, I guess my name is.
Yes, you come alphabetically. You're next, Eric.
Did you say that just to make me be the one to say that you were next?
No, I as Curtis will tell you, I'm extremely tired. I flew back from work.
and we all have to remember Eric's pretty.
Yeah, I'm not that pretty. I'm not pretty enough to get away with this. Okay, if I'm next, great. Then I'm going to vote for the Holiday Armadillo, and it's getting advanced to round 2. So sorry, everybody. Next, in a shocking turn of events, we are again evenly split between Shibboleth from West Wing and White Christmas from Black Mirror. Amy, get us to Pardon West Wing to round 2, while I will explain why Black Mirror's Christmas cookies bite back. And Amy, do you mind going first again?
Sure. So, okay, I will just start with again, the West Wing is like my idyllic world, right? Like this is the world that we all want to live in. Because in my mind, President Bartlett is the best president there could possibly be, and I look back on him fondly regularly. This episode had the most perfect balance of serious, West Wing, heavy, and humor, which, I mean, I think was West Wing, that's what it did best overall. But you have these two, there's obviously always 17 things happening in this show, but the two prominent storylines that have always stuck out to me are CJ and the turkeys, and the president having to pardon a turkey and her being responsible for having to choose which turkey gets pardoned. And then this very intense, deep storyline of Chinese refugees coming over to America at the holidays right before Thanksgiving, and the president having to decide how to handle this situation and whether or not they deserve to seek religious asylum, and a real look at what is Christianity and what is faith, and this word shibboleth coming from the Bible. It's just the perfect balance of holiday enjoyment and really beautifully shot. You've got Christmas trees in the background of scenes that just kind of give you that holiday feel. And again, it's not overly holiday because it actually takes place right before Thanksgiving. But there is a sense of what he actually, at the very end of the episode, is declaring a day of thanks for Thanksgiving as his presidential duty. And that it really gives you just this idyllic version of America. And to me, this episode it is just what you want that good-hearted holiday spirit to be. I would happily show it to my children the same way I would teach them about Hanukkah with the armadillo. Mm-hmm. I would teach them about faith and kindness and respect for one another and religious freedoms with shibboleth.
Love the callback, so congrats on that. I could not be more delighted that these two are randomly paired up against one another, because they could not be more different. All of the things she was saying about faith and religion and tolerance and loveliness, you will find none of that with Black Mirror, because it is a deliciously malignant little episode, and it's about as far removed from the holly jolly stuff that makes up the rest of this list as you can get, and that's why I love it. So in case you don't know what Black Mirror is, it's a British anthology series that explores the dark side of technology and society, and this particular episode tells 3 separate but ultimately related stories that take technological concepts that we're all familiar with, like, say, blocking someone on an app, and it draws them to the most intense real life application. It's a real mindfuck of an episode, but it's also very satisfying, and I loved it. I'm not gonna say I liked all 3 tales in it equally, but I thought they were all at least interesting. It also introduced me to Wizard's song, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, which is a banger of a Christmas rock song, but is brutal in the context of this episode. And it also has John Hamm, and anything that gives me the Hanukkah onto my tree is going to make very happy for Christmas indeed. So I'm going to take it to the votes. Michael, where are you on this one?
Oh, I'm sorry, Curtis, but I'm going with Amy on this one, because shibboleth, I think, and what I liked about this is the fact that we have 2 actual dramas up against each other in this round. It's the only time that happens in all of the brackets. Well, I consider Beverly Hills 90210 a more of a comedy in this case than I do anything else, but it's not a real drama. These are 2 real dramas up against each other, and I could live in the West Wing world, including season 7. All the way through the rest of my life for this, because it really is. And I think that shibboleth is a perfect example of what the West Wing as a series as a whole really stood for in the end. All of these complex moral dramas at the time, but really just always stepping in on the right side of things and trying to make the world a better place. And I think that's what shibboleth really does represent in the end, whereas these are polar opposites from we're talking lawful good versus chaotic evil here in terms of these 2 episodes. Yep. And I have watched The West Wing through like 3 or 4 times, and it's just an amazing show. And I think this is just a perfect holiday episode of like all these problems come together, but really all around the idea of being able to give thanks, and really a truly great Thanksgiving episode.
I give thanks for John Hamm. Doesn't that count for anything?
No.
Curtis, where are you on this one?
So I had never actually watched West Wing before this podcast, like this episode. I went through and watched every single thing that we're talking about today because I wanted to have the ability to actually support an opinion. And I liked it a lot. I really, really did. And this episode was fantastic. This is one of the more difficult decisions for me to make, honestly, because I really did love both of the episodes. I appreciated that West Wing is like fast paced and like they're like chatty and like it's very fire from the hip and the way that they talk and interact with each other. And I really appreciated the B story being like the funny, you have to learn how to sing a song, you have to pick between these turkeys and all that. It was a great episode, but I love White Christmas. The Black Mirror episode is phenomenal. And I don't think anything else on this bracket really speaks to not everybody's Christmas is happy. Like
True.
Some of us don't have a great life. It's not a wonderful life. And it's just such an interesting take. Like it would be very easy for what I'm going to call like a horror series or show to come at it and say, oh, this is our holiday episode. And it would be nothing related to the holiday. But this, I mean, it really did weave in Christmas in a way.
Yeah.
And it's just, I vote for White Christmas. It's so good.
So that means it's tied again. Curtis, you're the tiebreaker this time.
And I'm keeping it with the Hanukkah.
All right. So I'm sorry. You guys did a great job stumping for West Wing. And anyone who's listening to this and is deeply upset that West Wing didn't advance further, I would listen to our best Emmy-winning series episode because I'm pretty sure West Wing goes real deep in that.
Don't worry. People that are going to come for all of us, will send them tiki torches.
All right. Next up, the panel is currently set to advance South Park's Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh to, appropriately, round number 2. But Michael is a fan of the classics and prefers WKRP and Cincinnati's Turkeys Away. Curtis, drop a deuce for Mr. Hanky. Michael, let your foul flag fly for turkeys. Curtis, why don't you go first?
Well, Michael, our friendship ends here, I believe.
Wait, we were friends?
Well, for this episode where it made sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had never seen any of WKRP in Cincinnati before watching this episode. And I got to say, thank God. I'm sorry.
Gay gasp. Gay gasp.
I know that probably feels personal to you, but I swear it isn't. It just doesn't stand up. The laugh track or live audience or whatever the hell that it was, laughing after every single line reminded me of The Big Bang Theory, which I also despise. There were no jokes until the final 5 minutes of the episode. And while the premise was somewhat funny, overall, it was just flat. It was just flat. When doing research for this, I saw this episode listed on almost every best holiday episode list. And I got to say, I just don't understand it. I don't. I have never been. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have never been a big fan of South Park. I would say it has its moments. And the Mr. Hanky episode has all of the makings of a funny South Park episode. It mocks the generic rivalry of religious holidays in public and the culture of being offended that we have developed in this country over the past few decades. And it had funny moments. And it's almost a spin on the trope of losing the real meaning of Christmas, which I appreciate. It's always smart, and I appreciate that. For me, it's just no contest. Even a literal piece of shit was better than WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh. All right, Michael, take it away.
Wow, somebody has some feelings they need to work through. I understand that I am probably not going to change anybody's minds on this one because, I'm old and I'm always the oldest member that participates in any of these podcasts for us. So I have a different perspective. I grew up in a time where it was laugh tracks and everything like that on sitcoms and everything like that. So that kind of thing doesn't faze me for it. But literally, I swear I thought turkeys could fly. It is just it is a moment of the late 70s kind of ridiculousness about like a commentary on the time about people trying to outdo each other in the media, because back then we only had television and radio and newspaper. You know, we didn't have everything that streamed 365 days a year kind of stuff. And it was, people were always trying to outdo each other, but literally it's like Les Nessman standing there and commenting on these turkeys being let out of the helicopter like he was witnessing the destruction of the Hindenburg.
Yeah.
It is just like, it's deeply funny to me, and I find it absolutely amazing. I have never been a fan of South Park, so that is the other thing. I find this episode actually really enjoyable from WKRP, but I could never vote for a South Park one. There have been some funny things over the thing, but as a whole, I'm just not a fan of the show. Turkeys Away, I just think is amusing and it's funny, and it's just like, it is the height of representing stupidity in people for us. And I think that just, you know, what's better at Thanksgiving than stupid people and alcohol, for God's sakes?
That's true. That is the reason for the season.
Absolutely.
Amy, where are you?
I'm going to go with South Park, and I will reserve any other commentary until we get further along in case it moves forward.
Okay. I am also going to keep with South Park here, but I will say that I disagree with Curtis that WKRP is not funny. I actually love WKRP, and I think because there's a 6 years age difference between us, Curtis?
Is that right?
Something like that?
Yeah, around
that time. And like, I saw WKRP reruns when I was a kid. I did find it funny. Yes, it's heavily laugh tracked and super manufactured. Yeah. It is a perfect time capsule of the late 70s. I would argue it's one of like the definitive late 70s sitcoms. And it's just got that groovy thing to it. And it is so stupid. You're right, Michael. Like, that kind of like totally dumb stunt queen thing in the media was very much going on at that point. Like the Disco Demolition Day at Wrigley Park, like Wrigley Field, whatever, you know, the baseball things. Amy's watching one right now.
Sports ball.
I am watching a baseball game right now on my phone.
But it's like that was an actual like cultural thing that people would do that stupid shit. And I think, as you pointed out, Curtis, it is still, 40 plus years later on virtually every best holiday episode of list. And I don't know many others pre-1990 that make that list at this point. So I think it's a classic, but I do think Mr. Hanky the Christmas Poo, as dumb as it sounds, did have more cultural impact. I can't even believe I'm saying that after everything I just said about WKRP. But in terms of episodes and their relative humor and entertainment value, I do think Mr. Hanky is stronger. It is not necessarily related to the holidays, but that episode also gave us "Cow Mom's a Bitch."
Oh, like, that is a banger.
It is a banger. Yeah.
I mean, in the end, it's okay. I did not expect to change any of your heathen minds about this kind of thing.
Correct.
So
I do want to stand up for myself for just a second. I grew up watching reruns of those like older shows. I Love Lucy, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley was one of my favorite shows. So
yeah, but those aren't the same period as WKRP really in the end. So I'm just, it's a very different time in sitcom history in that late 70s perspective.
Is Laverne and Shirley not 70s?
It's mid 70s, and I will say, Curtis, straight up, those shows you just named absolutely have way better writing than WKRP ever did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sure. But WKRP was a very specific period in time. We're talking 77 through 79 kind of thing, where sitcom television was very different than it was previously, and then what we get in the 80s. It was a very, I like to think of it as like Disney 70s films where they don't have the first clues to what the fuck's going on, but there's some really entertaining stuff in there.
It's like cheap, but deliberately cheap and disposable. And like, it's a Pinto. It's the Chevy Pinto of television period. So
yes, it is.
Okay.
Pinto blew up, Eric.
I know. And so did WKRP. With that being said, we are advancing Mr. Hankey. So next, the panel wants to pull out the pole and perform feats of strength in honor of Festivus and the strike from Seinfeld. But Curtis wants to take us to school with It's a Totally Happening Life from Beverly Hills 90210. Curtis, explain why every time a bell rings, Donna Martin graduates. Michael, deliver a Festivus miracle and push the strike to round 2. I'll have Curtis go first.
I'm going to be a reviled person after people listen to this.
Too late.
Podcast. I know. Well, the people that don't revile me yet will soon.
We
so
love
full
you.
disclosure, I hate Seinfeld. I have always hated Seinfeld. It is in the same vein as The Office for me, where all of the characters are trash people that I struggle to find a redeeming quality in. I wanted to be fair and watch every single one of these episodes so that when I came to these debates, I could feel comfortable with making an opinion. And here's what I will say. 90210 was schlock. It is schmaltz. It was true teen drama. There's a bus crash that 2 horrible CGI quote-unquote angels are trying to prevent because they don't want these 30-year-old teenagers' lives cut short. Ancient Andrea just got into Yale. Wrinkled Dylan is confronted.
I believe it's Andrea.
Andrea Martin. Yes.
Wrinkled Dylan is confronted by 2 beautiful girls who both tell him that they love him, but somehow that's not enough of a problem for any of them to not be friends. I watched this episode on 1.75 times speed, and it still felt slow. And even after all that, I am still voting for it because Seinfeld sucks. I watched the entire episode. The only story that I was at all invested in was Elaine's sandwich card. Similar to the Office episode, this cast is full of unlikable people. They're just zanier. It's kind of crazy how much of a cult following this specific episode has. This was my first time watching it, and the idea of Festivus is actually more of like a C story that until the end, it just doesn't get fleshed out a whole lot. And then the actual Festivus event was only a few minutes, and outside of repeating those same tenets of feats of strength and all that nonsense, there was no like building out of it. It just, again, fell flat. I wish that had been the A story of the episode instead of Jerry's misogynistic two-faced debacle with his date. The one bright spot was getting to see sexy Bryan Cranston in his heyday. And I will stop talking.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. With that being said, Michael, talk about the strike.
Okay, so I have an admission. I hate Seinfeld too, Curtis. I really do. But when you put the strike up against the schlock, as you called it, that is 90210, you can't hold it because literally, and this goes back to something Amy said earlier, it's for you. Like when you look at cultural impacts, as much as I hate Seinfeld, Festivus is something that ranks right up there. People recognize it. You know, people raise the aluminum pole, dinner. My favorite part, the airing of grievances. And I have a lot to say, but and then the demonstration of feats of strength. You know, Festivus has actually ingrained itself into the pop culture dictionary, part of the canon. You don't get that from that 90210 episode. And, you know, I do love a good It's a Wonderful Life remake reference that almost every show does at some point or another. You know, a lot of shows remake that It's a Wonderful Life storyline to show what would have happened if our main character had died, for God's sakes. So it's a trope, and it has been used over and over. And at least the strike is unique and interesting and does something a little bit different.
I will say I reached out to Eric before this because I totally agree with everything you just said. I reached out to Eric and I said, what if I just outright refuse to choose one? And he was like, are you abdicating your vote? And I said, I almost did, but I made a choice.
And that's all we ask. Just the way that Kelly Taylor chose herself. Amy, where are you on this one?
I just want to say, I also don't like Seinfeld, and I don't think anybody finds any of those characters redeeming. But as the armadillo has become a cultural icon, so has Festivus. And in any other situation, I will always choose Beverly Hills 90210 basically above anything else in life.
Yep.
I have to say Festivus has more cultural impact than this episode, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
That's a word.
It's a phenomenal episode. Rest in peace, Dylan McKay. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Seinfeld because Festivus haunts us all.
Okay.
Getting
Eric, I'm sorry. I just had to interject right now because I need to point out a fact. Curtis hates Seinfeld. I hate Seinfeld. Amy hates Seinfeld. This is only on the list because of you, right?
I don't know.
No, I put it on my list.
Oh, you put it on the list. Okay.
It's on my list because of its cultural impact, not because I like it.
And I get that and everything, but I was just trying to blame Eric for something.
Listen, it's the airing of the grievances. It's here. It's happening. Get into it. I just want to point out that getting Amy Pilott to vote against Beverly Hills 90210 is the definition of a Festivus miracle, because like she is the biggest 90210 fan I've ever met. And so that is shocking. I'm voting for Seinfeld. I do genuinely like Seinfeld. I understand what you all are saying. They're terrible people. That's the point. It's why I also love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's the same show. It's just in Philadelphia. They're all terrible, but I think it's hilarious.
It's much more entertaining in Philadelphia than it is on Seinfeld.
And I do, like, I hear what Curtis is saying, that the Festivus stuff is the C plot, but everyone talks about Festivus, and for a reason. It is very memorable, and I think a big part of that is Jerry Stiller's kind of the way he sold it was iconic in and of itself. So that is 3 for Seinfeld, 1 for Beverly Hills 90210. Seinfeld advances. The panel is currently split between the wholesome teens of Saved by the Bell and their Home for Christmas episode, and the decidedly less wholesome teens of Big Mouth and the cartoons A Very Big Mouth Christmas. Amy, take it to the max and explain why the Bayside brood should advance. I will assume puppet form and commune with my hormone monster in favor of Big Mouth. Amy, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first, and I will start with I don't know what Big Mouth is, and I did not do my homework as well as Curtis did. So, with that said, if there's anything I like almost as much as Beverly Hills 90210, it's Saved by the Bell. So, this episode for me this is one of those, when I sat down and put together my list, I said, what do I remember? Like, what are these holiday episodes? And by no means, this Home for the Holidays episode does not have the same cultural impact as Festivus or Hanky or the Armadillo. But it was just a cheesy, lovely story. And there was so much fun in this episode with this a very special episode of Saved by the Bell moment about them befriending a homeless man and his daughter, who, of course, spoiler alert, end up moving in with the Morris family because why not? It's just sweet, and it actually, in the Saved by the Bell world, it's one of the few episodes that takes you very much out of, and not the summer episodes; those are different, but it takes you out of school, and it's their out of school life, and they're working at the mall. And I don't know. I have no real solid argument for this other than it's Saved by the Bell. And I enjoy it. And Mark Paul Gosselaar can do no wrong.
Oh, Mark Paul Gosselaar. One of my earliest crushes. So here's the thing. Big Mouth is fairly new. I think it is the most recent episode to be on this list. It was released for holiday 2021, but I don't think it's recency bias at play here, because I genuinely think this one will stand the test of time. I was stunned watching this when it was actually released. It's a tour de force of different animation styles that elevated a cartoon about puberty, a very funny and sometimes moving cartoon about puberty, into something way more artistic. So the episode is a series of vignettes featuring different characters. There's a really terrific puppet segment that they keep coming back to, featuring the various hormone monsters. There's a stop motion piece about Lola spending the holidays alone. There's a horror section about Father Johann from the Germanic Janssen twins, and an anime piece starring the Pitbull featuring Ludacris. That's the Pitbull's name, featuring Ludacris. And then there's also a segment about Santa Claus's penis and an elf orgy. Like, that's amazing. That's incredible television. And it was really audacious for this kind of really silly show about, teens experiencing sex for the first time. I thought it was a terrific holiday episode that gave me feels and also made me laugh a lot. So, Curtis, where are you on this one?
Nothing says Christmas quite like a fist up your ass. That's one of the lines. Speak on it. That's one of the lines from Big Mouth Christmas.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Saved by the Bell. It was Screech.
I wish. Isn't he? No, he's dead now.
He's dead. God, I can't make that
Justin Diamond, yes.
Was he in jail before he died?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just got them confused. So I watched both and made it through approximately 15 minutes of Saved by the Bell before I just couldn't do it. I'm so sorry. So yeah, Big Mouth for me.
Okay. Did you make it all the way through Big Mouth?
Oh yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh yeah. I love it. I love the show in general, but this episode was really fun. Yeah.
Great. Michael.
This was the one part of the entire bracket that I really didn't give two shits about. I don't care which one of them was forward in the end. I mean, I don't love Saved by the Bell, and I don't know, maybe I'm just built differently. Big Mouth is a cute show, but it doesn't speak to me in any way, shape, or form. I get why people like it and everything, but neither one of these. This was the only vote in the entire thing where I didn't have a strong opinion on at least one of the two episodes in the end. So I just went with Saved by the Bell because I felt like it felt a little bit more me than anything else. And I'm going to stick with Saved by the Bell so that we keep for a tie for Amy.
Okay. So
thanks.
Amy, you are the tiebreaker. Where are you going?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go with Saved by the Bell because I had to vote against Beverly Hills before. I'd like to keep Saved by the Bell now.
Fair point. Okay, so we will advance Saved by the Bell. Next, the majority of the panel is dreaming of a white Christmas for Miracle on Evergreen Terrace from The Simpsons, but Curtis is carving into the votes in favor of Thanksgiving from Master of None. Curtis, command this panel to vote for Master. I will be Santa's little helper as I stump for The Simpsons. And actually, Curtis, for my gift to you, I'm actually going to go first. How about that?
Sure.
Lest we forget that The Simpsons actually started with the Christmas episode. The very first episode of The Simpsons is a Christmas special in which the family gets Santa's little helper, their retired racing greyhound. But that is not this episode, which comes from season 9 toward the end of the golden age of the show. The plot is super relatable for any kid at Christmas. You've got wrapped presents under the tree. Everybody's very excited, but Marge won't let anyone open any of them until after breakfast on Christmas morning. Bart, being the evil genius he is, drinks tons of water, so his body forces him to wake up in the middle of the night, sneaks downstairs, unwraps a particular gift, a remote-controlled fire truck. The toy ultimately causes a fire, melting the family's plastic Christmas tree, ruining all the presents. Bart hides the evidence outside, and Christmas morning tells everyone that a burglar stole their gifts and tree. The town rallies around them after ace reporter Kent Brockman does himself a news story, and they get them a big new tree and $15,000, which Homer promptly uses to buy a new car, which is then sunk in a lake and explodes. Ultimately, Bart confesses, and the community demands vengeance. It's really your basic Christmas story, really. All of that is excellent and iconic and legendary. However, it contains one of my all-time favorite Simpsons gags, which is to repay the town. Marge goes on Jeopardy to win back the money, and she ends up negative $5,200. And at the end of the show, Alex Trebek approaches her backstage menacingly saying, "Time to pay up, Marge." And it's so stupid, but I love it. It's also the introduction of poor Violet and her brother Patches, which are terrible but hilarious Simpsons characters. So with that being said, Amy, take it away, or actually Curtis, take it away for Master of None.
Yeah, it's me. And had you told me when we got this bracket that I would be on this side of the argument, I would have told you were nuts. Because I think in every episode where we've ever had The Simpsons as a contender, I think I've always voted for The Simpsons. I had never seen Master of None before this. I'm actually not typically an Aziz Ansari fan. His humor is a bit grating for me. But this episode specifically was a beautiful telling of a story that I think at least 3 of us on this episode have experienced, coming out of the closet and then watching our family members come to terms with that over the years. I adored it. I especially loved seeing an experience through the eyes of someone who was totally different from me. Dee is a Black woman in New York City, but who went through such a similar experience to me when it came to the whole gay thing. And the other reason I love this episode is because of its focus on the holiday. It's a collection of multiple Thanksgivings. So you get to see how all of the characters develop throughout the years. It's such a real episode with real people, and I really appreciate that. Angela Bassett is a fucking superstar.
Yes, she is.
She was phenomenal. Just watching her facial expressions as she gets the news that her daughter is a lesbian and coming to terms with it, and not like she's in public, she's at a diner, so she can't really express how she wants to express herself. This episode won Lena Waithe an Emmy, making her the first Black woman to win an Emmy for outstanding writing in a comedy series. And it also won a GLAAD Media Award. There's nothing wrong with The Simpsons. I love The Simpsons. I think they have wonderful holiday episodes to choose from. And this one, as you told us, Eric, it's crotch kick after crotch kick. Every time you start to feel good about their plight, wham, right in the crotch. I think the ending is cute where they're all running around and fighting over the washcloth. But toe-to-toe with this episode of Master of None, I think there's a clear winner. And it's not the one that I expected.
You brought up groin punch? Is that what you said it was?
I said crotch kick.
Crotch kick.
Yes.
Yeah, which makes me think of Hans Moleman, man getting hit in crotch with football. Another classic Simpsons moment. So
feels very similar to that, actually.
I'm just saying it's callback. Amy, where are you on this one?
I could easily abstain. I actively don't like The Simpsons. Not just I don't care. I actively don't like it.
Interesting.
Just not my cup of tea.
Why did you vote for it then?
Because I've never seen Master of None, but I have to tell you, Curtis, you just made me want to watch that episode.
I can't tell you to watch the rest of it because I don't know, because I haven't seen it, but watch this specific episode and it's very, very good.
So does that mean that you've switched your vote to Master of None, Amy?
I don't know. I don't really care.
Okay.
I hate to say that, but I'm comfortable with whatever the group decides.
All right. And Michael, are you Simpsons?
I am Simpsons because it does have it makes some even cultural references in itself in that episode. One of my favorite moments in the episode is when Homer brings the whole family outside to light the lights. And it's a very Clark Griswold family vacation Christmas movie moment for me where he puts it in and Bart's response is craptacular.
Yeah.
Yes, I did enjoy craptacular.
It looks like craptacular. And I think that given today's pop culture situation, The Simpsons, even though they suck and they really should have been off the air 20 years ago at this point, they still make a cultural impact every once in a while. They're still a part of the culture. And Master of None is a great show and everything like that. But I think in this case, I'm sticking with the tried and true and going with The Simpsons.
I'm sticking with The Simpsons as well, though. Curtis, you did a wonderful job repping for Master of None. I just think in terms of if you're looking at the canon of holiday episodes, I think the Simpsons is in there more frequently than Master of None, which doesn't mean it's better. It's just better known. So,
and I will just add that you've now also swayed me back. If there's a Griswold reference, I'm down. Let's
okay.
Okay.
Come to the dark side, Amy.
Yep.
The Simpsons will advance. I'm sorry, Curtis, you did a great job arguing.
Go watch the episode.
Will do. If nothing else, That's the gift that you've given us. And finally, in round one, the bulk of the panel is prepared to storm the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree if it means advancing Ludachristmas from 30 Rock. But Curtis is feeling regal about Queens for a Day from Will and Grace. Curtis, try to impress your mother-in-law and the panel with your argument for Will and Grace. Michael, explain why it wouldn't be a lemon party without old Dick and Stump for 30 Rock. That is one of my favorite lines from 30 Rock. How I laughed at that. I'm going to have Curtis go first.
Talk about Sophie's choice. Like, these two shows are my two favorite shows, plus the Golden Girls, of all time. Like, those three. Will and Grace and 30 Rock uniquely impacted the development of my sense of humor and therefore the way I go through life. So to make me pick between these two episodes hurt. I think they are both phenomenal. And for a lot of the same reasons, they both have a focus on family, which is important to some people during the holidays, and the absolute dysfunctions that can occur within families. And they're both chock full of jokes that play off well-built character models. I give the edge to Will and Grace because I simply think line for line, it's an overall funnier episode. For those who haven't seen it, Will convinces his boyfriend, Vince's mom, to try on a pair of 5-inch heels, jump up on a counter, and work it, girl, ending in her falling off and breaking her toe. And that causes her to not be able to cook Thanksgiving dinner and further disdain for Will. But to save face, he volunteers to cook the entire thing from their house in Queens, thus the title. The side stories in the episode are honestly just as, if not funnier, than the main storyline with Will. Grace wants to get back in the sack, and under the tutelage of Karen, they find the sexiest guy at the dinner to pursue. And honestly, one of the funniest jokes in the entire episode comes from Karen's delivery of 16 when they find out that the boy that they've been trying to bang all night is a teenager. And they've both made out with him as well. On the other side, Jack helping Vince's sister Ro come out as a lesbian to her family and her very straight fiance is also really hilarious and heartwarming. Her obsession with Renee Zellweger and the camp that they go to, and Jack's encouragement to come out at Christmas instead so she could get gifts that she could use, like a chunky diving watch or little camera you can make documentaries with. Like, those jokes are just perfection to me. Eric McCormick and Sean Hayes were both nominated for Outstanding Lead and Supporting Emmys, respectively, for this episode. And out of every episode on the list, this one was the one that I laughed at the most. I watched every one. This is the one that I laughed at the most. The jokes, the pacing, the story, the whole episode is just delicious.
What is it with lesbians coming out on Thanksgiving on television?
Did Ellen come out on Thanksgiving?
I don't think so, but that's
it was a spring. It was a spring episode.
But like, that's the second time a lesbian has come out in one of these shows on Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
This is Master of None. Yes,
there is a filthy joke in there, and I'm not going to go there. It's right there, but this is a family show. It's not actually. If you're listening to this with your family,
this has never been a family.
This has never been a family show.
It's a family show. Please don't listen to this with your family. But Michael, talk to me about 30 Rock.
So, Curtis, you laughed at Queen for a Day more than you did at Shibboleth. I find that hard to believe. Oh my God. But I'm down here for Ludachristmas here because, I mean, you're right. It isn't a lemon party without some dick. So it really isn't. And what literally makes this entire episode is Elaine Stritch.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I mean, rest in peace. May your soul be happy forever because you have given us nothing but joy from your career. But Elaine Stritch as Jack's mom is just priceless. I mean, she's priceless in every episode that she was ever on in 30 Rock. But in this one, it is literally like seeing the wheels turn as she figures out how to find the dysfunction that exists in the Lemon family. And like just the calculating nature of it. And like the running gag about Liz's brother, Mitch, who thinks it's 1985. And like how Jane Krakowski's character had slept with him previously. And like just the whole like, it was just well done. The actual story title of Ludachristmas and the whole Ludachristmas thing that happens is really just is not even it's like the D storyline in this whole thing for us. Like Ludachristmas itself isn't, but just the whole Christmas in New York with Jack and his mom and then the whole Lemon clan together is fantastic.
I think that Elaine Stritch, and this is where I will tip my hat, folks. For me, I know I'm supposed to be looking at these as individual episodes, but it's very difficult for me to separate the 30 Rock Christmas episodes from one another because the Elaine Stritch of it all, she is so funny in every one of those. But this one, she is, I think, especially like her gleeful calculation at the lunch table. I can't decide. The pictures of everything just look so good. It's just
it's almost like the Countess Dowager moments from Downton kind of thing, right along there with Maggie Smith.
It's so good. Amy, where are you on this one?
Elaine Stritch.
Yeah, I'm on Team Elaine Stritch. And that is just take nothing away from Will and Grace and Queens for a Day. It just had the misfortune to be up against 30 Rock, Curtis.
Yeah, couldn't have gone up against 90210 or Saved by the Bell, huh?
Just kind of
sorry, Amy.
Drifted into round two. So we'll take that into another advisement. But that is it for round one. We're going to take a break to play an aggressive game of Yankee Swap involving an iPad, and we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back to round two of our best holiday TV episode debate. Before we get to round two, let's pass around the Christmas Skull Candy Bowl as we share our social media handles. Amy, how can people find you?
So if you want to see cute kids, puppies, and an occasional political meme, Amy Pilott on Instagram. But also if you would like to talk more about Beverly Hills, Friends, and Saved by the Bell while we spin along, Amy spins 83 on the Peloton.
I love that. Does Peloton do holiday rides?
Oh, yes. Cody Rigsby last year had one that was incredibly inappropriate.
Oh.
And I'm going to find the name of it. Circle back to me in a moment.
Yeah, tell me more. I want to hear about this. Was he dressed like a reindeer when he was doing it?
It was it has a very inappropriate name. I have to find it.
Perfect. I'll
for this podcast then.
Exactly. Curtis, how can people find you?
I'm on several of the different things at Curtitch, Curtitch. Don't ask.
They have a cream for that.
They do, yeah. Or I can just give you my doctor's card at the free clinic. Michael, how about you?
You can find me on Instagram at Therax329. That's THERAX329 on Instagram. Feel free to message me to tell me why I was wrong or why I was better than Curtis.
Ooh. And as for me, you should definitely follow at Great Pop Culture Debate on Instagram and at culture_debate on Twitter, but feel free to follow at Eric Rezsnyak on Instagram or Twitter. But we also technically have TikTok, which is at Great Pop Culture Debate, and I've done like literally nothing with it, but maybe by the time you're listening to this, we'll have some fabulous content up there. So with that being said, let's move on to round two of the debates. Our
it was
elite
a sleigh ride.
Sleigh ride?
Cody's sleigh ride, but it wasn't as inappropriate. It really was, though.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you, and we'll have to look this up. But the Elite Eight for this one, it's wild, ladies and gentlemen.
They're all over the place.
It's all over the place. Really kind of dark, but let's get into it. Christmas in Downton Abbey from Downton Abbey versus the one with the holiday armadillo from Friends. We're going to go around the horn, and I'm going to start with Michael. Where are you voting here?
Oh, I'm here on Downton Abbey 100%.
All right. Curtis, where are you?
This is a challenge for me. I do enjoy Friends. I do.
No. Come with me, Curtis.
Armadillo.
That fucking armadillo has fucked me tonight, Amy. So
then you definitely need to see my doctor at the free clinic. Just putting that out there.
There are too many punches on that card. Eric, they will not take it anymore. So I was just watching the Christmas episode of Downton Abbey earlier today, and the scene that is sticking out in my mind right now is when the Dowager is absolutely dressing down that man who is trying to come in and
Carlisle.
Carlisle, yes. Woo her daughter because he's broke and he done already sold his house.
That one. Yes.
Oh, is Carlisle the one that's with Mary?
Yes. The Carlisle's the one that's
not
Mary.
Carlisle, not what's his name from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
No, the one who is broke and trying to get into the fortune.
Rosamund's bed, yes.
Yes. And she is reading him for filth. And for that reason, I shall choose Downton Abbey Christmas.
Yay, Curtis!
Amy, I have a sneaking suspicion you're still on the side of the armadillo.
I am like so armadillo.
So armadillo. I'm also still armadillo here. I love Downton Abbey. I really do. And it is beautiful. But I think, again, culturally, the armadillo has more weight. And I like it just so it's not just Christmas things in the finale. But that being said, that means we're tied again. I believe the tiebreaker is back to Michael.
Wait, hold on.
No, I don't think Amy. As much as I don't want to admit this,
No.
Amy never got her shot.
I never got my shot at a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I know. It's Amy, and God, that pains me so much.
No. Hold on.
I thought she got
Amy
it.
got one because she pushed through Saved by the Bell. Because
Yeah.
90210. Yes, you did, ma'am.
did.
90210 did not go through. So you said, oh, since 90210 didn't go through, I'm going to put through Saved by the Bell.
Wait, could we rewind?
So let me make sure I understand this. If you revoke your tiebreaker, that means Big Mouth goes through. And is that what you want to do?
No, there's no redo. I'm sorry, there's no crying in baseball here.
There's no takesy backsies.
She used her. She used hers.
I think we've all learned a very important lesson tonight. And
I cannot believe that the armadillo is about to go out. How does the armadillo go out? This is the most important.
Go ahead, Amy. Say it, Amy. Please say it.
This is my menorah. We have dreidels, menorahs, and armadillos, guys.
Amy, please threaten to walk away.
I don't think I even have anything left on my bracket if we get rid of this.
Amy didn't actually pick anything. It was just friends the whole way and nothing else.
just wrote it in for all the lines. No, I am with you, Amy. I'm with the armadillo as well. But I do believe that the tiebreaker goes back to Michael. So, Michael, it's your decision to make.
And Amy, I just have to say that your pleas have reached into my chest and found that I don't have a heart at all. And I don't care that we're moving forward down.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Oh, you have no idea. I am a vindictive bitch.
Wow, what a Black Christmas.
I know. No, and the other reason I'm moving this forward is because it's literally also the last drama really on the list other than White Christmas. And no offense, I don't see White Christmas. I don't see White Christmas moving forward.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Amy, am I correct saying you didn't have Christmases growing up, right?
No, I didn't. Which is why I went to Jewish sleepaway camp and married the Protestant counselor.
Yeah.
So I have a 10-foot Christmas tree now and an armadillo.
Yeah. The reason I asked is because since you didn't have Christmas, this is very much in the spirit of a family Christmas where someone is passive aggressively ruining everyone else's time just because they can.
Okay.
I'd like you to point out where I was passive aggressive.
I can't.
No, I think he was just aggressive.
Yeah, exactly. No, I knew what I wanted.
I can't do this. I'm so
No, Curtis.
I'm so sorry.
Don't fuck me. Don't fuck me over here, Curtis.
I'm switching my vote.
Yes, Curtis!
I'm so sorry.
Curtis,
I can't.
Anything else you want in this bracket, I will move forward for you.
I got that in my pocket. But no, I cannot in good conscience. I don't really care for Friends. I don't. And I do not want to turn into the pepperoni argument. But when you think of the breadth of holiday episodes, just the sheer number of people who have even watched it at all, when you compare Friends versus, and that's, I mean, I think maybe a little bit of that is accessibility in terms of who has HBO and who doesn't. But I love Downton Abbey. I do think that it is probably a better episode of television. But in terms of
hold to your guns,
the zeitgeist of a holiday episode goes to Friends.
Okay, so I'm going to point out two things at this moment. One, that means I still have my tiebreaker vote for whatever comes next.
Yes.
Correct.
And Curtis, I really am a vindictive bitch.
I look forward to seeing.
I just want to say that this was the Hanukkah story, and this was the little bit of oil that kept burning until it ate away at Curtis's soul. So
It's true.
It still doesn't exist. There was nothing left to eat there.
How do you like them matzo balls?
Curtis is the Hanukkah miracle. Can someone write that down, please?
Exactly. Well, there you go. With one magic candle, the holiday armadillo survives. Next up, it's White Christmas from Black Mirror versus Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh from South Park. I'm going to go around starting with Amy. Where are you?
I'm going to go with the poop.
Lovely. I'm going to go to Curtis. Where are you?
This is like comparing apples and poop. So I'm going to go with the apples and pick White Christmas because I think it is a better episode of television.
Michael.
Eric, you vote. I'm still butthurt over the last round.
I think both of these have an interesting place in the canon, but I think I'm giving it to White Christmas here because I think it is a more interesting entry. So that would be my vote. Michael?
Oh, I'm going to stick with White Christmas at this point. You know, there needs to be at least one drama left in the bracket at this point. I'm just sorry. I'm not a fan of South Park, and this has nothing to do with me eventually screwing Curtis over in some major way. But I
was going to tell you, keep it. Like, don't waste it here. Hold it until it really hurts.
Oh, I'm going to trust me. This is How I Met Your Mother. You know. I get 10 slaps at any predetermined time that I choose.
I hated that show too.
I didn't love it either, but you know the reference though.
Yes.
No, actually, I don't get that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Amy, you were going to say something, Amy?
I was just going to say, and this is no armadillo to me at all. I don't like South Park. There's actually a lot of shows on this bracket that I actively don't like. I don't like South Park because I just want to take you back for a moment. When I was a 15, 16-year-old babysitter. I babysat two little boys, and my entire job was like keep them alive, make sure they brush their teeth, and make sure they don't watch South Park. All they wanted to do in life was watch South Park. And when the Mr. Hanky episode, when this episode came along, I literally just put up my hands and I was like, there's nothing more I can do. It is everywhere. The poo is everywhere. It's on the shelves at CVS. It is literally wherever you go. I cannot keep them away from this Christmas icon. I don't know how it happened, but it's here and I quit. That was basically what happened.
And that's some shit.
Yeah, it really.
I'm sorry, I had to.
I'm happy that we walk away with the armadillo and that this piece of poop is not a cultural icon, but it was, and that's all.
It was. It really was for sure. All right, so we are advancing. White Christmas is from Black Mirror. Next up, it's The Strike from Seinfeld versus Home for Christmas by Saved by the Bell. How we got here, I don't know. Curtis, where are you voting?
I quit.
Do you have either? You had to. I'm going
Saved
to
by
ask
the Bell.
you.
Saved by the Bell.
Shit. Okay. Michael.
Seinfeld. Curtis is just trying to be contrarian at this point because he knows how the vote's going to fall out.
No. I literally I dislike Seinfeld that much. Seriously.
I do too, but at least I can look at it through the cultural icon, pop culture lens of it and recognize that it has had an impact as much as I despised everything about the show.
True. Amy, where are you on this one?
Festivus. Yes, that's right.
Okay. So that's Festivus for me as well. So that will advance. And then finally, it's The Simpsons Miracle on Evergreen Terrace versus Ludacrismas 30 Rock. Let's start with Amy.
Elaine Stritch. Ludachristmas.
Elaine Stritch. That's going to be the ultimate winner of the episode. It's going to be, and our winner is Elaine Stritch. Curtis, how about you?
So I think it's really interesting that Amy keeps saying that, and you all brought it up too. Elaine Stritch is phenomenal, especially in this episode. It's fantastic. But then as I started thinking through it, if you look at the different storylines, so you've got kind of the A storyline is the Lemon versus Donaghy battle, right?
Sure. Yep.
And the Ludachristmas storyline is B/C because you also have the whole stupid shit with whose name just flew right out of my head.
I refuse to read your mind, so I can't help.
That's okay. He gets an ankle monitor.
Oh, Tracy.
Tracy Jordan.
Tracy. That whole thing. That storyline, not Tracy's, though I don't care for that one either, but like the actual Ludachristmas storyline of like Kenneth bringing in the pastor and them all sitting through, I don't find it that funny.
Really?
It's not really like the idea of it is funny, but the actual like them watching the video of the poor children in whatever country that is using the wood, like they're so excited about the wood. It's not that funny. Elaine Stritch is hilarious. That's not that funny. So it kind of averages out to like a B. And The Simpsons, I think, is solidly A. So I'm going to go with The Simpsons.
Interesting. Okay. Michael.
What he said has absolutely no bearing on what I'm about to say whatsoever.
Because you agree with me.
Shut up, Creekmore. But I'm going with The Simpsons here. I think I like Ludachristmas, and I advocated for it in round one. But up against The Simpsons, I think that it's a more classically, and it was still the golden age of The Simpsons, you know. And for those of us that grew up on The Simpsons when it was a short during the Tracy Ullman show, it's like it just seeing it morph into such a cultural icon and everything like that. I think that it's really just, I think it's the better episode.
I'm going for 30 Rock, which means we are tied, which means, Michael, your time is now.
I'll take this one, and I will save my vengeance for other people another time for us. But we're going to be moving forward The Simpsons.
Okay.
If you were truly vindictive, you would have flipped your vote to go for 30.
I couldn't. I do have something that resembles like a moral code left, and I was not about to flip there. If I was going to flip, it would be for something meaningful.
There's a filthy joke there, but I'm not going to touch it because it's Christmas. Before we get into our final four matchups, we're going to take another quick break to wrestle our fathers in the name of Festivus. We will be right back.
That's what she said. That's what she said was to you saying, I'm not going to touch it because it's Christmas. I wanted to get that in there, but I couldn't.
Yeah, and if you touched it, you'd need a cream for that right about now.
And now we're going to go to break. We are back for round 3 of our best holiday TV episode. While we were gone, a talking piece of feces instructed me on the joys of Christmas, and now I'm ready to break into song. So our final 4 is not at all what I think we had in mind when we started this journey. We have Friends Holiday Armadillo versus White Christmas from Black Mirror, Seinfeld's The Strike versus Miracle on Evergreen Terrace from The Simpsons. So we have mostly 90s, which is pretty on par for our particular podcast, and then a Black Mirror episode. It's just out there in left field. Let's start right at the top. Michael, Friends Holiday Armadillo versus Black Mirror White Christmas. What are you going for?
Take a stab. I'm going with Black Mirror's White Christmas at this point.
Really?
I'm going contrarian. I'm still butthurt over 2 rounds ago about all this. So
Okay.
I am not giving up on that.
All right, fair enough. Amy, I have a feeling you're the Holiday Armadillo.
Armadillo, all the way.
Curtis.
I'm not going to pepperoni this argument anymore. I'm also going to go with Black Mirror, and I'm not going to change my vote this time because, again, I think I really enjoyed that Black Mirror episode. It is poignant in multiple different ways. If you haven't watched it, like, watch it. I think you can watch it for free on Netflix. There's not
Yes,
even
you can.
it's not even an access issue. So go watch it. It destroys society. Like this is us. This is us right now, what we're doing. And it's just such an interesting take on how we use technology paired with just how people are fucked up in general. And then you throw Christmas on top of it. It is a phenomenal episode of television, but especially a holiday episode that is out of left field.
So I agree with everything that you just said, but ultimately when we're now at Final Four, we're going to the top two. I don't know if an out of left field, like absolutely soul crushing episode is really what I want to represent the best holiday TV episode. It seems to me like there's being contrarian, sure. And, you know, I enjoy that for the sake of debate, but like at the end of the day, do we want to be like, hey, this episode that makes you want to take the gas pipe is the best example of holiday television. You should absolutely watch this thing about people accidentally murdering people and then like living in basically like a mental prison for thousands of days. Like, I'm not down with that, you know? And like, I'm a miser too, but like, come on. Holiday Armadillo versus like fucking abject misery? I don't think so.
And if you want a little darkness, the Armadillo episode does have the skull. So you are reminded that the
Oh my God.
You
That is a stretch, Amy Pilott.
It's true, though. It is talking about people's kind of, you know, impermanence.
It's got licorice in it.
Well, the good news is,
it's fabulous.
Eric, I believe that makes it a tie, and
It does
therefore
make it a
you
tie.
have the tiebreaker.
Correct. And I
Yeah,
am
you're
like,
up,
you
Eric.
guys, I hear what you're saying, and I'm up, and I'm giving it to the Armadillo. Friends, let's just also
steering track right now. Like,
let's also acknowledge the fact that Friends on this podcast has had a long storied history of getting shafted for multiple reasons. And if you are listening, this is for you, John Boudreau, who has been
Yay, John Boudreau!
Oh, I love you, John Boudreau.
a Patreon supporter of this show since like day one, and he loves Friends. And every time an episode comes up that discusses Friends, he's like, Friends gets screwed again. This is bullshit. And I keep saying, I am so sorry. This is for you, my friend. So Merry Christmas.
This is the first episode where Friends has come up that I've been on the panel. So I just want to put that out there. John, this is for you.
There you go.
There's a lot in this world that should be done for John because he's truly one of the most amazing human beings I know.
Absolutely correct. And Curtis knows him too, so we are big fans of the John Boudreau fan club. Next up, so we are advancing Friends, Holiday Armadillo to the final two. Next up, it's The Strike from Seinfeld versus Miracle on Evergreen Terrace from The Simpsons. I'm going to start with Curtis.
Simpsons.
Michael.
Simpsons.
Amy.
God, that hurt.
I don't like either show, but Festivus, because it has the same cultural significance as the Armadillo.
I'm tied. I'm torn here because I agree. Festivus has the level of recognition, but much to my same point about Black Mirror being a very sour kind of depiction of the holidays, Festivus is pretty bleak. And so I think since we're at the finals, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the actual holiday episode, which does have a positive holiday message. Kind of.
It gets there.
Which gives us a final two. We had 3 Simpsons, 1 Festivus, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a final two of Friends, The Holiday Armadillo versus Simpsons, Miracle on Evergreen Terrace. I honestly did not see the Simpsons going that deep in this field. Let's go around the horn. Curtis, where are you on this?
I'm going to say The Simpsons. I think it is a better everything. It's a better show. It's a better episode. It's a better representation of my life. So yeah, I'm going to go with The Simpsons.
Amy.
Absolutely the Armadillo all the way. I just want to say my final two in my own personal bracket was Armadillo and The Strike. So I feel that I've, I was almost there, but
You delivered. Michael.
I'm torn. Why don't you tell us what you're doing, Eric?
I'll tell you why I like both of them. So on the side of the Friends episode, I enjoy the fact that it's not just Christmas. It's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, it is weird, unsettling Christmas from Phoebe's perspective. It brings in that kind of darker elements of Christmas without being just overwhelmingly like miserable and kind of marinating it. So I like that it is non-denominational. And that is something that, frankly, our holiday episodes tend to not do. They tend to be very Christmas-oriented. And then I like the Simpsons episode because, on the flip side, it is about as, like, wholesomely Christmas as you're going to get from The Simpsons and still be true to The Simpsons. Like, there are a bunch of really funny moments from that episode that I can remember when I first watched it. Jesus Christ. I think literally 25 years ago, probably at this point.
Yeah, it's about that.
And I distinctly remember watching that episode when it first aired. So it has those holiday memories we were talking about since the beginning. I'm really torn. I think either one is a great winner for this episode. So I'm pleased with that. We have one-on-one right now. Michael, ultimately, I think it's going to come down to you and your decision.
I mean, I'm torn here because it's like I loathe to give Amy what she wants right now, but at the same point, given the choice, it is solid in the end. I would just, I don't know that between that, and I really do love it, that golden age of Simpsons, and I think that it's really.
Lisa, no, your hands are too weak. I think is my favorite moment in the entire episode. It is a good moment.
Craptacular is seriously my favorite moment. Just that deadpan deliverance of it.
It's Craptacular, Dad.
God, I feel like no. I'm going to do it. I'm going with The Simpsons.
Oh, okay. No, I thought I had you there for a minute.
It was really teeter-tot back and forth there, Amy. I'm sorry. But in the end, I got to go with The Simpsons.
And honestly, Amy did a great job. You brought, we got through the desert. We were wandering for rounds and we did it. So that's what I have to say. There you have it. Our pick for the best holiday TV episode is The Simpsons Miracle on Evergreen Terrace.
Which none of us picked to start. None of us had this as a final pick. Any of us.
It's so true. Do you agree with our choice? Do you think we need to be left stranded in the North Pole? Let us know your pick by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or yell at us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. While you're there, make sure you like and subscribe for more Great Pop Culture Debate content. And if you really like what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, which can get you access to more exclusive episodes, merch, and the ability to suggest topics for us to do in the future. Thank you to my panelists. You're all on my nice list this year, every one of you. And thank you for listening. If you want more holiday content, we have a whole holiday collection on greatpopculturedebate.com with episodes like Best Classic Holiday Song, Best Holiday Movie, and Best Holiday TV Special. Until next time, remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinions, and happy holidays.